So we've been talking about last night's competing GOP presidential events, the Trump town hall on Fox and the DeSantis Nikki Haley debate on CNN with Chris Christie's departure. But it seems to me, as we were talking about just before the break, that this moment at James Madison High School in New York, where migrants displaced indigenous students, maybe is an inflection point in this whole discussion of migrants, particularly as mayors, sanctuary city mayors and sanctuary state governors are still unwilling to contemplate a policy reversal. They just, again, are beating their tin cups for more cash from the state or the federal government or both. And maybe this is where Republicans should be pressing down on the issue, as Trump and DeSantis did to varying degrees yesterday, as the left attempts their latest January 6th misdirection with the speeches that Biden gave on Friday at Valley Forge and the other day in Charleston, and what they're continuing to try to do with these hearings that turn into circuses, like the Oversight Committee hearing yesterday. You say Hunter Biden or Biden Incorporated, and I say Jan 6th. Maybe if you've got enough attention of enough urban denizens and suburban residents, maybe this is something where it should be all hands on deck, which is maybe why House Speaker Mike Johnson, despite the complications with his narrow majority and the number of big spenders in that narrow majority, should have held a little bit faster rather than cut the spending deal that he cut with Schumer and by extension the White House. Maybe. For more on this, let's ask our friend David Marcus. David Marcus, of course, columnist, formerly living in New York. He upgraded to West Virginia. He's also the author of the book Charade, The COVID Lies That Crushed a Nation. David, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So what is your hand? I mean, especially since you lived so much of your life in New York, give us your sense of what's happening in that city, if you could distinguish it from like our own in Chicago. The politics of this. Is this the moment I'm suggesting it might be where this should be the singular focus of Republican ranks to capture the angst and frustration and loss of patience of voters across the spectrum?
I mean, look, I hope so. I think that one difference between New York and Chicago is that New York City went from 1993 until 2013, I believe, without a Democrat being mayor, which in retrospect, you think about that, that's wild, right? It was Rudy Giuliani and then Michael Bloomberg, and the city worked. The city was great. It was fantastic. Clearly under Bill de Blasio, it fell apart. And Eric Adams, unfortunately, is beholden to the same Democrat Party machine that de Blasio was. But listen, this was ridiculous. I mean, imagine being a parent and being told, your kid has to leave school. They went out the back door to clear the school out, and then school buses arrived full of migrants to go in to this school. I mean, it is absolutely infuriating. I have a column up in the Daily Mail about it, and I end that column by paraphrasing a very famous New York Daily News headline from the 1970s that said, Gerald Ford dropped dead. Joe Biden is saying to New York City school kids, drop dead. The migrants are more important than you.
Yeah, and same with Eric Adams. And I love the parents that were out there standing in the rain, screaming at I mean, I know it's not the migrants' fault, but she was so mad. She's like, what are you ever going to leave? What do? You feel good about yourselves that you're here? But is that going to maybe, convince some New Yorkers to vote for Trump or vote Republican in the near future?
As it turns out, and some people have made some political hay of this, Midwood, that neighborhood in southeast Brooklyn that I lived fairly close to, that's a red neighborhood. But people don't understand. That Staten Island, for example, is very red.
Yeah.
New York City has a Republican congresswoman in Nicole Maliotakis. So, yeah, again, it happens slowly. But yeah, at a certain point when the subways are so bad and the crime is so bad and your kids can't go to school. I mean, look, you saw Lee Zeldin get within 4 points of Kathy Hochul in 2022. He was supposed to lose that race by 20. So yeah, there's a point at which New Yorkers start to wake up.
But it's sort of a race against the clock, isn't it? Because the philosophy on the other side, as nicely encapsulated by Yvette Clarke, who's also a congresswoman from Brooklyn, Democrat, is we need the migrants. I need them for redistricting, which you're not supposed to say out loud, but you did.
But even they're divided. I mean, on Fox News last night, they had a Democrat assemblywoman from that area who was really calling Biden out, right? We've seen Adams do that to some extent. We've seen other Democrats, Henry Cuellar in Texas.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, and the border is one of them, but on the border, on Israel, on some of the culture war stuff, like men and women's sports, there are real fissures in the Democrat Party. And there were a lot of Democrats who thought that they elected Joe Biden to be, 1999 Joe Biden, a moderate, a reasonable Democrat. And he's turned out to be, arguably to the left of AOC.
Yeah, I mean, it's always just strikes me when a party regular doesn't understand what's happened to the party to which they affiliate. And what you're saying is, I mean, maybe this is mainly independents, but some more moderate Democrats, like some of the office holders you mentioned, they don't appreciate who's in charge of their party. I mean, could it be any more clear?
No, look, I think that's right. I mean, I think the transformation of John Fetterman, for example, over the past 3 months, has just been remarkable. I mean, on almost every issue. And I think I think he's very smart because I disagree. I disagree with you. I'll disagree with your point. I don't think it is just independents. I think that on this crazy lefty stuff, the average Democrat has sort of been rolling their eyes and saying, well, that's silly, but what's the difference? And now there is a difference, right? Now the border is overrun. Now the sort of trans issue is hitting almost every parent's school. And these people are waking up. And I think Democrats see there's a lane here. There is a moderate lane for Democrats. The party of Obama won't let Biden have a primary challenger, but underneath the presidential level, it's happening.
What do you think of the strategic choice that the president made over the last week, as I was mentioning, which that the election in November is a referendum on a single question: MAGA dictatorship or a continuation of our representative republic?
Yeah, it's all he's got. I mean, he spent about 2 months with this test balloon on Bidenomics, and it was the same result as the Hindenburg. It just crashed and burned. His numbers kept getting worse. You can't tell people who have a nervous feeling in their stomach when they get to the grocery store about how much this is cost that everything's fine because the stock market's doing well. It just doesn't work. Economic issues and crime, I've always stressed this. Economic issues and crime are gut issues. You feel them. You feel it. When that bill tallies at the grocery and there's something else that you can't afford, you feel that physically. You don't feel foreign policy that way. You don't feel intellectual issues that way. So Biden's not going to be able to convince Americans that their eyes and pocketbooks are lying to them.
And the Haley DeSantis debate last night, sound and fury signifying not very much?
I had these crazy nightmares all night where there was just this voice that kept saying, DeSantisLies.com, DeSantisLies.com. Just all night. It was horrible. I don't know. It clearly looks like a race for second place. Yep. I was surprised that Haley got in the mud so quickly. I knew DeSantis was going to have to try to take shots at Haley because she's an ascendant and he's just been a flat line. I didn't think Haley needed to do that. I thought maybe Haley should have ignored some of DeSantis's jibes and gone squarely after Trump. But yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, listen, Christie dropping out means there's a real chance Haley wins New Hampshire. That is now, in my mind, that's 50-50 right now. But after that, even if she's competitive in South Carolina, you look at the rest of the map, and I don't see how Trump loses. You say, well, maybe I'm watching CNN yesterday, and they keep saying, well, maybe something will happen. You know, that black swan event.
Yeah.
I'm like what? Like, oh, what? He gets arrested? Like, what? That already happened. Like, there's nothing that's gonna happen. Like, nothing's gonna happen.
No, Trump,
yeah. That's not deep thinking. There's always the possibility something unforeseen could happen. Yes, that is by definition. You know, that is the human condition. Thank you. Yeah.
Trump mentioned yesterday that he knows who his running mate's going to be. Do you have any inkling as to who that might be?
I mean, it's not me. But,
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I'm very busy. I don't. Although I guess vice presidents don't do that much, right? So maybe that would work. No, I don't. And frankly, I'm not sure that. I don't know. That strikes me as the kind of thing that Trump might tease, and maybe he knows, and maybe he doesn't. Maybe it could change. But no, he's a showman. I mean, that's a great thing to say, and we're talking about it this morning.
Exactly. And, you know, he did roll out Kristi Noem in Iowa, so maybe that's a leading indicator that maybe giving her a test spin, if you will, and maybe that's a leading indicator where he'll go. But, right, I mean, I don't know any more than that either. That's kind of analysis belongs on CNN. David Marcus, journalist living in Virginia, author of Charade, The COVID Lies.
By God.
What's that?
West Virginia.
No, did I say what? Did I say Virginia? Oh, I apologize for the
Mama.
I apologize for the insult.
All
Journalist living in West Virginia. The book Charade: The COVID Lies That Crushed a Nation. David, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, business owners, are you wondering how to grow your